Hi, I'm Brian from Abstrakt Instruments. Today is January 23rd, 2019. I'm here at the office bright and early. It's about 5:45 a.m. Today's a pretty exciting day. The last of the OB-X parts from the Kickstarter that we ran are calibrated and ready to ship, and I'm pretty excited about that. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the kits and what's included in the kits and any installation details that you need to know. So usually today we would be preparing our booth at the NAMM show, but with the delays in the fourth production of the Avalon and development on new product, as well as the preparation of the OB-X parts, I am here at the office gladly finishing this up. So this is our little middle room. This is the room that the Avalon final assembly is usually done at. On this table here, pretty much all of the nearly 1,000 Avalons has gone through final assembly in this little room, but it's been taken over by OB-X parts for the last few months. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over each of the kits and each of the variations of what was on offer, to describe what is included with the package and any details for installation. So first I'm going to start off and describe the individual cards. So if you ordered or pledged individual cards, whether it be 1, 2, 3, or 4 individual voice cards, they arrive individually wrapped and they are pretty much ready to go, ready to be used. There's not too much to be concerned about. There's a switch on here labeled keyboard rack. It's not applicable to those that ordered 1 or 4 cards and not full kits, because the filter control board is not used. That switch has to do with enabling and disabling the filter control board, which has to do with selecting filter modes. Okay, so the only thing I would suggest is if you install it into an OB-X, it'll be nice and calibrated perfectly. Although the filter initial cutoff and scale, you may want to calibrate it to match your other voice cards or vice versa. So you're going to get a 6-pack of screws and lock washers to mount this card into your unit. And that's pretty much it for those. They come individually wrapped, and you just pop them in. Second, for 4-voice expansions, you'll receive your expansion fully assembled. So it's already assembled in the tray. The cards are all mounted in the tray, and all you have to do is install the tray. So you'll get a double boxed unit, an outer box like this, and a tuck top box inside. And you'll get your unit in bubble wrap. And also some additional bubble wrap will be packed in there. And you'll get the filter control option. Even if you've only ordered a 4-voice expansion, you can still install it. Of course, if you enable the other filter modes, it'll only affect the top 4 voices. But you can always disable them as well. So you'll get one of these. Your tray will have the connector installed already for it. Okay, so all you have to do is install this into the unit, as I'll show you in a second, and then you just plug this into either connector. They're both in parallel. When the units ship, voices 1 and 3 are set at 3/4 pan left, 2 and 4, 3/4 pan right. Feel free to set them wherever you want. The unit will have the hinges, the brass hinges installed already. So all you're going to have to do is you'll have a bag of 3 1-inch standoffs. You're going to screw those onto the hinges. So if you've got your unit with your original 4 boards and you're installing the 4-voice expansion kit, obviously you're going to install the connectors that go to the board above it. The parts that are included, the standoffs, the 1-inch standoffs, they install in the holes that are already through the enclosure from the factory. These standoffs are generally not included if you have a 4-voice OB-X, so they're included here. You're going to screw these on to the brass hinges on the tray, and then you're going to go from the bottom and you're going to use these 632 screws and lock washers to mount it from the bottom. On the right side, the standoffs are generally already installed. Next, to install the filter control board, we're going to need to access underneath the CPU board, so we're going to remove 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. Once those screws are removed, you can swing open the CPU board, and you may want to tie it to secure it somewhere with a piece of wire or a piece of string while we work underneath it. So next you're going to remove component A31, which is one of the latches. And before we install the filter control board, you're going to remove a 632 screw from this position here. It's already been removed on this machine. And you're going to replace it with the 3/8" male-female standoff. Now you can plug in the filter control board. And then you're going to use one of these 632 screws and lock washers to hold it and secure it down here. Next, you're going to hook up the wires to the voice motherboards, either 1 or 2 sets if you have a full 8 voice. They're going to plug into the connectors on the filter control board. Either connector, they're both just in parallel. Now you can flip the board down. Put the screws back in to mount it. And now you have the switches here that will determine whether the noise half and noise full buttons will control filter modes or actually the noise level as standard. So the slide switch on the left determines whether the noise full button will control the noise full volume or allow you to select high pass mode. So when the switches are in the down position is the default mode, so the buttons will control noise. So for example, the button on the left, if it's in the down position, the noise full button will now control the noise level. So it will give you full noise level. When that switch is in the up position, it will override the original function that is controlled by the noise full button and will allow filter high pass mode. So when you press noise full, you're in filter high pass mode. Likewise, when the second switch is in the down position, noise half is enabled. And when it's in the up position, the bandpass filter mode is enabled. So in most cases, you may want all 3 filter modes available. You're going to put both switches in the up position, and now noise half will give you bandpass, noise full will give you high pass, and when they're both off, it'll give you the default low pass filter mode. Now back continuing with the parts included for the 4-voice expansion. You've got the 4 10-position connectors, the 4-position connector, and the 5-position connector to connect the upper voice tray to the bottom voice tray for the voice sum. The kit also comes with a new cable that supplies power to the voice motherboards for the analog supply voltages. This is the cable that sends plus and minus 19 volts to the voice motherboards to be regulated on each voice card down to plus and minus 15 volts. The original part is pretty flimsy that comes with the unit. I would recommend changing it with the new supplied part with the heavier gauge wire and the new connectors. Okay, so if you ordered the 8-voice kit, you're going to get your expansion tray, just as described so far, and you're also going to get your bottom tray. So the bottom tray is all calibrated as well. It also includes the filter control connector that hooks up to the filter control board, just like the upper tray. The first voice is going to be fully installed. It'll be already mounted, whereas the 3 other voices are not. They're only seated. They're not fully installed because you need to remove them in order to actually screw the bottom tray into your OB-X. So you'll have to fully seat these yourself afterwards. They fit very tight, and they're very hard to remove. That's why they're not seated as we ship them. You'll get a whole new set of connectors. The shorter 2-inch connectors for the bottom board, and then another set of connectors for the top board, just as described before with the 4-voice expansion. Of course, you'll also get that power cable, and then you're also going to get a new connector for the bottom board as well, which is for the second connector here, where it has the CV and gate I/O. So you don't have to use this connector, you can use the original one, but in case you want to change it out, the wire is included to solder, already set up to solder to the gate and CV I/O connectors on your unit. So if you want to replace that connector, you can too. So if you order the full 8-voice kit, each board will be included in its own inner box and also its own outer box. And then the 2 4-voice sets are in a master box, a third outer box. One thing to note for the 4-voice expansion as well as the 8-voice kits, irregardless of which voice motherboard you're dealing with, you want the switch on the voice cards to be in the position that says keyboard, and that's how it will ship. This is because that switch allows you to defeat the filter control mode for each voice independently, and you're not going to want to defeat that. So you want them in the keyboard position so that if you're using your filter control modes, that it'll work for each voice. One additional thing for you that are technical or engineering geeks, you may notice if you peek on the bottom of the board, there's 2 resistors tacked on. These are additional pull-down resistors for the control lines for the filter mode control. There's an analog switch on the bottom of each board that controls the filter mode. And in the case that you're not actually using your filter control board, so you're not making use of the filter modes, those pull downs will make sure that the units stay in low pass and are not just floating inputs. Okay, that'll just about do it. If you have any questions, just get in touch. Best case is probably through Kickstarter. Otherwise, have fun, and I hope you enjoy the parts.